on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another live stream for y'all tonight. Getting into current events, movie review, and so on and so forth. With me, as ever, co-piloting this thing with me is the homeboy Rob.
What's going on, Andy?
Well, a great deal, actually.
Nothing's happened this week at all. Literally
right?
nothing.
Just, it's been really quiet. Nothing to see here at all. Nothing to see here at all, folks. Nothing to see here at all.
Don't be fooled. There's nothing going on.
Yes, but yeah, we will be getting into some stuff. We'll obviously be commenting on, the recent tragedies with the Atlanta shooting. Maybe spill into the recent Boulder shooting that happened, as well as kind of culture. Actually, maybe a little bit of a respite and actually do some cultural commentary, talking a little bit of. In light of the release of the Zack Snyder cut, Zack Snyder vision of the Justice League, as well as, of course, the mainstay of this live stream, which is the movie review. And again, to remind you of this month's theme is courtroom procedurals, and we'll be reviewing the 1997 movie The Rainmaker, starring Matt Damon, Danny DeVito, Mickey Rourke.
Oh man, this movie is
John Voight.
What's
her? Claire Danes.
Roy Scheider.
Roy Scheider of Jaws fame. Just because even though he's one of my, if you didn't watch it in the main podcast, I've named him as one of my top 5 favorite actors.
That's right. Yeah.
But for those of you who are not familiar with him, or familiar with the name at least, you'd be familiar with his role in Jaws. He plays the local sheriff, Brody.
Just a little bit of a side, since we're talking a little bit about Roy Scheider for a second. Did you ever watch Sorcerer?
I remember the title, but I don't think I've ever watched the movie.
I haven't seen it either, and because the original the guy that made the movie wanted Steve McQueen for that movie, but Steve McQueen is like, well, yeah, I'll do it, but I don't want to go to I think they're filming in the Dominican Republic or something. And he's like, no, I want to film it in the U.S. And he's like, no, we got to film it over here. So he declined, and then they gave the lead character to Roy Scheider, and I've heard good things about it. But I figured since you listed Scheider on your list, I was wondering if you had seen that movie.
No, yeah, no. Again, the title of the movie sounds familiar, but I don't think I watched it. I'm more. I based my pick based off of kind of this, obviously Jaws, and then also. What was it? 2010, the kind of sequel to 2001, which he's in as well.
I still have not seen that. I gotta see that.
It's good. Of course, it's not like the great epic that 2001 is, but I think it's a really good follow-up movie to 2001.
Would you akin it to how Dr. Sleep is to The Shining?
Yeah, not exactly 1-to-1 comparison, but. Yeah, I think that's an apt comparison because everyone regards The Shining as this this grand epic, and they the Doctor Sleep came out much later. In that same vein, yeah, because 2001 came out back in the 70s and then
late 60s, yeah.
Late 60s, yeah. And then 2010 came out around about the 80s. So yeah, that would be a good apt comparison.
But yeah, no, it was Yeah, well, I will. I'll have to dive into some of the movies because I've heard good things about Sorcerer. You keep telling me good things about 2010. I know you're a big Roy Scheider fan. I've seen a couple of his movies. I mean, obviously, I've seen Jaws. Everyone's seen Jaws. I love The French Connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I don't think I've really seen outside of like this movie that we're going to review today. Like, and he's a very old Roy Scheider. I was like, oh my god, he's
Yeah. I mean, not as old as he, but like,
dead, right?
I mean, yeah, he's dead. So yeah, I think one of the last roles that he had was in the early 2000s Punisher movie.
That is right. I totally forgot he was in that one, which is
Yeah,
not the best, but it's not terrible.
right. I mean, it's not like a huge role in it for him
No,
either, but
I totally forgot that he was in that movie.
yeah, I mean, but it made my day when I went to go watch it. I was like, oh my god, Roy Scheider.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, before we get jump into the deep end here, let's gingerly get into this, and yeah, let me ask you, Rob, about your weekend.
Oh man. Well, the whole week has been kind of quite a whirlwind. I've been dealing with some car stuff. Um,
Some what stuff?
car stuff.
Oh, car stuff.
My
Oh,
wife's
still?
car needed to get some repairs done. She unfortunately was in an accident a couple of weeks ago. Not of her fault. Just some dumb driver who decided that they didn't want to be on that road anymore. Wasn't paying attention. They just went from the far right lane, cut the wheel to the left, trying to make a U-turn, and they slammed into the front bumper of my wife's car. So we finally got everything settled to uh, get the car put into the body shop, got all that paid for, got the rental car, all that stuff covered, and so that's been something that's been a little bit of a pain in the butt, but I got all that done, and then you know we've had a guest, one of my wife's friends, staying with us this weekend, just kind of to hang out, and it's to be honest, it's kind of nice because it's like uh, keeps my wife busy, and so I kind of get a chance to kind of do my thing, and gave me a chance to watch the movie for this week, and I'm actually I for the first time in a long time I've finally been able to sit down and actually do some gaming, which I haven't done in a while. So I've been playing a couple different games. I've been playing this one called After Party. It's one of those. As far as like the gameplay goes, there's not a ton of gameplay. It's more of like it's a good story. You kind of get to choose your own adventure. You get to make a bunch of different choices. Essentially, you have these two characters who it starts off there at this college party, but then they end up dying and going to hell, and they're trying to come back to. They're like trying to figure out how they died, and then they're trying to make it like back to the world of the living, and it's an interesting game. I like it. It's one of those games you could probably knock out in maybe like 4 or 5 hours if you just sit down and play. Um, and then I've been playing an old well. To me, it's a still a pretty new game, but it's an old game now. The original Red Dead Redemption on PlayStation 3, which is essentially we've been earlier in the year we were watching a bunch of westerns, which I've still been doing, and I was like, you know what, why don't I play a western? And so I picked up Red Dead Redemption. And for the I mean, I'm not sure if you're very familiar with the game, but you've heard of like Grand Theft Auto, right? Like that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially like it's the same people who did Grand Theft Auto, but it's just a western. And you're not like you can kind of like be a dick and like be a bad guy, but you can also be a good guy as well. And so yeah, think of it as like Grand Theft Auto, but like as a western.
Right.
So I've been doing that. What else did I do? I ended up watching, kind of getting stuff set up for a feature episode with a good friend of ours. He's been showing me like a couple of different movies that he's thinking about, he wants to talk about. So, yeah, and I watched I Andy knows that I love to show him a bunch of shitty movies, and I saw one of the worst ones that I've ever seen, called "It's a Talking Cat." It has those interrobangs with the question mark and exclamation marks together, and apparently it stars Eric Roberts, who we love. We love Eric Roberts, but man, he's the voice of this talking cat, and it is the worst fucking movie I've ever seen. But it was so great. It's one of those. It's so bad, it's good. I was laughing my fucking ass off. It was great, and I can't wait to show it to you, Andy.
Oh joy!
It was a direct to video movie. Eric Roberts's role was it sounded almost like he literally phoned in his role, because like the sound quality, it sounded like someone's talking to you over like a really bad connection on the phone, and he it said, I think it took him 15 minutes to record all of his dialogue, and it had like a budget of $1 million, and I guarantee that 95% of that budget was to give 15 minutes of Eric Roberts' time.
Wait, is he like? So he's only in the movie for like 15 minutes?
No, he's not. We don't ever see Eric Roberts. All we hear is his voice as the talking cat.
I see.
It's so bad, but it's awesome. And don't worry, I wouldn't raw dog you and make you just watch the movie by itself. I did watch the riff tracks version of this, so that's what makes it so great. And I cannot.
Know, dude. I don't know if I can. I don't even know. I don't know if I'll be able to even withstand like the riff track version.
We'll see, like
the parodied version. I don't. I don't have as many days in front of me as I do behind me. So.
Well, you think of it as this. We'll because we're going to be watching a movie together here pretty soon. We can make it a double feature. Back in the day, you'd have the B film, which was not always all that good, or the serial, and then you'd watch the main feature. So like this. Think of this as the B film that you're going to watch before the good film.
Yeah, can we just not do the B film? I mean, I'd really rather not.
Well, I'll see if Erica is interested. But I'm not gonna.
I'm pretty sure Eric's not gonna be interested either. But I mean, I'm not speaking for him. I'm just saying that's the feeling I have.
One of these days, I'm gonna get you really interested in watching these like really bad movies, and I'm also gonna get you interested like in auto racing, and we're gonna have a good old time.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to dream, but
I'll ply you with whiskey beforehand, so you have a little bit more of the laughter, ready to go.
I don't know if there's enough whiskey in the world.
I mean, I'm not gonna make you watch like something like Gigli or something like that.
Yeah, but then at least I could look at J-Lo's ass for like an hour and a half.
Or Birds of Prey.
Oh god, I literally didn't even watch. I have not even watched 1 minute of that movie.
I can't do it.
I just can't. I just can't do it to myself. I'm not a young man anymore. I just can't take the abuse.
But anyways, that's been my week. I've had it's been a pretty good week. Can't really complain. Although that after we finish our wrap up of the week, I am gonna go into a huge rant and complain But hey, that's it. But other than that, in my normal life, I'm doing great.
Yeah, no, me too. I mean, I didn't really do anything spectacularly noteworthy this past week. What is it? Or this over the weekend. Well, like because one of the things is because my dad went on a camping trip with his buddies, and he took my car, which I didn't find out until the next. I think I mentioned this, but
Well, it happened the day that I was gonna be hanging out with you while I was having my car worked on.
right,
And
that's
you're
right.
like, oh yeah, it's by the
So
way.
funny that was last week, but it felt like
Yeah.
so long ago. Um, yeah, but I found out that the day that he was like leaving, he's like, "Hey, I'm taking your car." I was like, "What?" Um,
So you haven't been able to go anywhere?
well, at least for the first 3 days, but it was fine. We worked it out. I was able to borrow my mom's car for one day because, on Wednesdays, through my church, I do volunteer work with the homeless. So,
Right.
so I was still able to do that. Um, but other than that, not much in the ways of activities. Oh, I did. Yeah, I did slap together some. I did finish editing some stuff for the podcast, and so those are all for the main podcast, and so those episodes will be ready to drop as those dates approach. So
Right. Yeah. Well, a new episode dropped on Monday, so that was
yeah,
awesome to see.
exactly. That's right. Yeah, the interview with your dad.
Yeah.
So that is available, and I do encourage y'all to give that a watch. And then so then the next three, I believe. No, there's only two more episodes, right?
I believe there's only two more. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, the second one with Eric, and then the second one with your dad. So next two, so within the next month and a half, or next month, those two episodes should be premiering. On the weekend. Oh well, on yesterday. No, not yesterday. But on Sunday though, we did celebrate one of my friends, longtime friends' birthdays. We went to go eat Korean barbecue at the actual restaurant, which was pretty nice.
Oh yeah. And did you get to sit indoors and everything?
No, we didn't get to sit indoors, but I mean, we still ate at the place, and they were taking people, they were allowing people to sit indoors, so that was,
Oh, that's
that was
nice.
good.
Yeah, I actually had pho this week where I actually went in and ate there, which is great.
Right. Yeah. Um, of course, me and Robert are of the opinion that people should just be opening up, 100%, and screw the government. But you know, to each their own, and to each their own, and again, we would only encourage, we wouldn't force.
Yes.
It's still, it's still kind of, it's still very much mind-boggling. How still people are like this, still people are. I mean, they're not very afraid, but they're still afraid of getting sick or whatever. And it's like it's been a year. It's been a year. How can you still be this afraid of something? I just don't understand.
You get sucked into the Dr. Fauci hole, and that's.
Yeah, I mean, how are you going to ignore your own? I mean, this is so 2015, but it's lived experience. How are you gonna ignore your own lived experience? You know, it's like you go out, you've been living your, you've been living your life as normally as possible. You know, but and yet, and like, and a year later, like, you're fine. Maybe, maybe you got it, maybe you didn't. I'm working from an experience of never catching it. Um, even despite, despite being around people, I think maybe more than the average person has been around, during this whole, insanity. But
you and
yeah,
I, you and I never stopped hanging out together.
yeah, exactly. And you have still gone to work, interacting with people, and I've, still been going out and, interacting as much as I, possibly can under the circumstances. And it's, neither of us have caught it. Like, you probably interacted with more people than I have.
Yeah, like a lot more, and a lot of them were like people I have no idea who the fuck they are,
Right.
and I haven't been sick once.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Nothing like nothing COVID related. Like I've had like I've like fucked up like my muscles and stuff like that. But other than that, like
Right. But specifically, like, catching, getting sick, like whether it's the cold or it's the flu. I mean, well, the flu is no longer exists apparently.
yeah. Oh no,
Um,
we didn't we cured the flu. Like that's
yeah,
gone.
we cured the flu 100%. It was like, I think in California there was like maybe like 2-3 cases total throughout during the entire year of this.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and like, again, like with the mental gymnastics, they say like, oh, like the reason why COVID is so high is because people aren't wearing the mask. It's like, well, what about flu? Like, we essentially eradicate the flu. Oh, it's because of mask wearing and social distancing. It's like, well, I thought we weren't
Can't be
doing that
both.
right. It
Cannot
can't
be
be. Yeah,
both.
exactly. It can't be both ways. You can't. It can't be. We're not doing it right, and we are doing it right at the same time. You just can't.
Yeah. I haven't had I haven't had any like sort of like major illness in 4 years. I haven't. That was the last time like where I was on like I felt like I was on death's door sick. And because like when I get sick, it's I'm out. Like it's I can't even like get out of bed. I can't do anything. It
Right. I
sucks.
mean, I don't want to say I never had the flu, but I can't remember a time getting the flu. I've had colds and stuff, and I've had colds that have lasted me, far longer than what I remember having as a child. Because usually, when I had a cold as a child, I had it for maybe like 2 days, and then I was done. But as an adult, I'd get a cold and it'd linger for like a couple weeks. But I always got over it, and I wasn't like, I wasn't put out. I didn't have, I wasn't lethargic. I didn't have problems breathing. Yeah, and I can't remember when the last time I had a flu.
I mean, like I said, but then even then, like some people like they're out for like a week, 2 weeks. Like for me, I was fine after like a day and a half. Like boom,
Mm-hmm.
like I was back to work like the next day almost. It was fine.
Yeah, no, like, yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, I don't think I was. I don't think I've been. I think the last time I was sick was like 2014, 2015. And that was
Yeah,
back when I was still that was back when I was still in school.
yeah, because mine was like right around like 2016, 2017, for like 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that was my weekend. Uh, as uninteresting as it sounded, it was. I was actually pretty content with my weekend.
Well, that's awesome, man. I'm glad you had a good. It sounds like you had a good weekend, even though you didn't have. Sometimes like not having a lot to do is kind of nice, and it just you get to.
Yeah, no, it was super chill. I didn't feel stressed. I didn't feel like, that I was overly burdened. It was really nice.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anybody, if they can, to have a nice quiet weekend, just kind of relax, just enjoy, just enjoy. the downtime.
All right.
But yeah, as we were speaking of sicknesses and viruses, uh, I guess it's time that we talk about the true virus in all of this, which we all know, or what we're finding out to be, is racism. You like that
Oh
transition
boy.
there?
I do. I like you. You're getting better at them, dude. Like
I know, it's only been 3 years of doing this. I'm finally finding my stride. But yeah, but if you weren't aware, just last week, this guy goes into a massage parlor and kills 8 people. Six being of Asian descent, 2 being of Caucasian descent, and 1 being of Hispanic descent.
But
Of
no,
course,
remember,
the media
like,
immediately categorized this as a hate crime against Asians, even though among the casualties was 2 white people and a Hispanic person.
But they don't exist. Remember, like the media, I don't think ever talked about those people at all.
Right, which is really fucked up because you're essentially erasing them, and it's like, oh, you don't count. But then again, neither do those Asian women that died. They don't count either. They're being used as the latest political football.
And see, like had I been like a lot of people where your only outlet, your only source of news is the legacy media. Oh, sure, I would have bought in. Like, oh wow, they're like even hate crime. It's horrible. Like, what's going on? Oh my god! And you start self-flagellating yourself, and blah blah blah, and you get all the, you get all with the Twitterati online of how like, oh, this is so awful. Like, if you like, uh, white guys who are like only into Asian girls, like, that's actually racism. Blah 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 blah. And it's like, no, actually, and they're the sanctimonious attitude that some of these people have, meaning that like because the with the facts of the case that were presented, and based off of the confession of the person that committed this evil, it's saying that, like, he has a a very uh, a really bad sex addiction, and what I think he was like, he went to these places that actually weren't like the the quote unquote sex spas, and I think he got rejected, and I think that's where like he like lost it, and or something along those lines, and he ended up.
Or or at least like how it's. I mean, there's the kind of like the mainstream media version, and then there's like the alternative media, and then kind of what's in between. But what I've heard was that he was actually in like sort of treatment for sex addiction, whatever that is. Um, but he even like lived in a halfway house, and there's like reports of like his former roommate in that halfway house. Him like talking about like, oh yeah, he's trying to overcome this, and he's kind of getting back in touch with his faith. Um, but from my understanding is that this place actually was like a massage plus place, just because the advertisements are very suggestive.
Ah, oh boy.
It's not just kind of like Asian woman in scrubs, doing like massage therapy kind of stuff. It's like very like scantily clad Asian woman, kind of seductive pose on the advertisements itself.
It's a make the banana cry type of place.
Yeah, exactly. It's a massage plus place.
It's funny. One of my friends from my old church, he's a cop, and he's a detective, and they were running a sting on a lot of these places, and there's a fuck ton of them, everywhere.
Oh yeah.
And now before, it's kind of this like open joke that like everyone kind of knows like what these the difference between like an actual spa and a spa.
Massage plus, massage
Yeah.
plus, massage plus.
Yeah. And so everyone makes those jokes. Now all of a sudden it's like you have like, oh, how dare you like think that like just because it's an Asian run place that like it's a sex spa, blah 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 blah. It's like, oh, give me a fucking break. Like everyone knows. Like everyone
Yeah,
knows.
I mean, it's the Harvey Weinstein. It's the worst kept secret in the entire world. I mean,
Yeah.
as sad as to say, and maybe that's just the kind of indictment on culture today or society today. But like it's like this it's a yeah, I'm gonna go get a massage, nudge nudge, wink wink.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's actually very sad, when you say it out loud. Uh, but it's
But
also very sad that this young man, try to overcome his addiction or his sin nature by murdering people. Um, you know, and there are going to be some people who are going to attack the religion, and they're like, oh, look at this crazy Christian and blah blah blah. It's like this guy does not represent Jesus Christ. I'm not gonna comment on his salvation status, but he was not a follower of Jesus Christ.
I would agree with that.
Because when Jesus like every single example of Jesus like forgiving somebody, he says, go and sin no more. He didn't say go and make sure that there's nothing in your life that and use whatever measure you think is necessary to rid yourself of that temptation. He didn't say that. He said, you go and sin no longer. Saying that
Right.
Jesus was telling people to take responsibility for themselves and to change their lives and augment their lives so that they would no longer sin.
Yeah.
That's the message of Jesus Christ, not what this young man did.
And what I hate is that to be honest, like, the people that were in that that were killed, like they didn't deserve to die.
No, of course not.
What's awful about it is that like anytime like one of these things happen, like the corpses of these people get trodden upon by the legacy media and trying to use them as a political cause for whatever whatever the soup du jour is for that day. Like where it's oh well we need to go against gun violence, or we need to it's another racist attack, it's another hate crime, like there's hate crime or on the rise. And first of all, I'm not saying that there hasn't been some those type of attacks on Asians, because it's been happening.
Yeah, I mean, we actually have been talking about this a lot, on this stream. So it's not as though we're surprised by this, or we're not clued in. We know this stuff has been happening. Since like the very first like viral video of that Asian man being harassed by that group of again, they won't highlight this, but being harassed by that group of black men. And one of them in the video literally said, "Oh, I hate fucking Asians."
Yeah.
He literally said the words, "I hate fucking Asians." So it's like, oh, but there's no way we can know the motives of those young men. It's like, what? And then again with this recent attack in Atlanta, no evidence of racial bias or prejudice or bigotry, but they immediately ran with, oh, Asian hate crime.
No, I mean, and the thing is, it's evil. Don't get me wrong. It is one.
Right. Yeah. Okay. We're not. Yeah. We're both examples are evil. and we're not saying that all black people are doing this, or and we're not in the case of Atlanta, we're not saying that all white people do this. We're just saying that these people are doing evil things. That that group of black men harassing that old man, in Oakland, that was evil. That white guy that shot up that Massage Plus place, that was evil.
Yeah. And
we're not,
but
yeah,
the
we're
same
not
time,
blanket
like,
we're not blanket statement making like all black people are evil or all white people are evil. Those individuals are evil. That individual is evil.
and sometimes you instead of looking at things like in their face, looking at evil in the face, looking at situations as they come, instead of just being lazy and just waving that broad brush of like, oh well, there's a white person involved, like now it's news, now it's a hate crime, now it's this, and it's like, yet you've trodden upon the corpses of like, yeah, okay, yeah, there were some Asian women that were killed. That's awful. That's evil. Well, what about the other people that were killed? Like, no mention of them whatsoever, and that they were not they were not Asian. What happened to those guys?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's, like, did those people not count?
Skin color.
I mean, yeah, just based off skin color. I mean, because last time I checked, we're you know, that's an evil thing to do. To disregard somebody based off skin color. I think last time I checked, I was told that that's an evil thing to do.
Yeah. Well, remember, like the legacy media, it's not journalism anymore. It's sensationalism.
No,
That's
it's
all. That's all it's
sensationalism,
about.
it's activism, it's anything but you know, you know, informing people of what they need to know, the facts.
Yeah.
This happened. This is the suspect. This is where it happened. This is how many people died. Tragedy. Now it's like, oh, this white man, he went in and shot these Asian women. Like, it's like, oh, it's like, well, what about these other three? These two white people and this Hispanic person. Oh, it's like, no, but the Asians.
Well, and that's I to be honest, like I really think that these people get a throbbing erection when it's like anyone that's like, oh, it's a white person that did it. Oh, yes. Like now we got a news story. Oh, fuck, exactly. A black person. No, well, let's just downplay it.
Oh, let's not jump to conclusions here. Yeah, it's like, was it? Yeah, if it's a black person, like, oh, let's not jump to conclusions here.
Or like some, like
or actually pointing out that, that the perpetrator was black is racist.
Yeah, or let's say like it was someone that was also Asian. That story would never make the light of day.
Of course not. And you might make it a little bit because there's Asian on Asian crime is so low.
Yeah.
it's so low, it's practically non-existent.
It's statistically zero almost.
Yeah, it's statistically zero. But yeah, the other infuriating thing about this is the timing of this. It's like it's happening now. Like, it didn't happen, back when, all those instances of, elderly Asian people being attacked. It didn't happen. It didn't happen when we're. It didn't. This like the hashtag. I mean, let me be clear. I'm upset that the hashtag has happened now.
Yeah.
Hashtag Stop Asian Hate. It's like, well, where was that? Where was that hashtag when elderly Asian people were being smashed in the face for no reason. When those group of black kids were just playing the knockout game with elderly Asian people. Where was the Stop Hate hashtag then? Where was the Stop Asian Hate hashtag when Asians were being discriminated against from colleges like Harvard or Yale? Or where was the Stop Asian Hate hashtag when that Google memo was leaked saying that it's like to the the HR people, it's like, oh, don't hire white or Asian males for programmer positions.
Yeah.
Where was the hashtag during all that time? But now all of a sudden it only happens after this, after a white person who could be singled out carries out the crime.
And people are buying right into the spell.
Exactly. That's how you know that Asians are being hijacked, because there's a hashtag. That's how you know that they are officially being hijacked, is because there's a hashtag, like hashtag Black Lives Matter, or hashtag you know you know Latino Lives Matter, or whatever. So as soon as there is a hashtag, you know we've been hijacked.
And it's funny because of my more well, my lefty Asian friends that are like, I mean, they're kind of not quite like leftist, but yeah, they're pretty close. I mean, they're right on that verge, anyways. Like I said, all those instances you just talked about, Andy, like that we've been like talking about, that we've noticed.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are like, among like my friend group, not a word, from these people. Like, and they're Asian themselves. Like, you would think that like they would be kind of aware that that's going on, but and I'm pretty sure they were, but nothing on their social media posts, nothing on their whatever medium that they use to talk about this stuff. But now it's like, oh well, we gotta stop the Asian hate. It's like, where the fuck have you been? And it's like, I'm not even Asian, but like obviously like the majority of like the people that I care about in my life, that I love, that's uh, they're uh, obviously it's important to me. I'm not Asian, but like, it's important to me because the people I care about most are being either like it's like my friends that are going off to school. It's like my former students that are going off to school. My friends' parents who are like kind of uh, are kind of in danger of being like beat over the head just because they look Chinese. It's like, and it's, or whatever the reason for like these people that are saying like why they hate Asians. But no, that wasn't important. Now it's like, oh, we got to buy into that because there's one white person who had a sex addiction, who also killed two like white people and like another lady who clearly had nothing to do with race. It had to do with something with like another fucked up problem that this guy has. But no, this is the catalyst for they're now going to be like Asian hate, and it's gonna spur something else on, like like I don't know if it's gonna be like BLM or whatever, but like there's gonna be something along those lines. I fucking guarantee it.
But it's hilarious though, because like the BLM, not again, I'm not saying all blacks. I'm not saying that blacks are a monolith, but I'm gonna specify the BLM blacks. They are the most racist against Asian people.
No, what I'm saying is like these events like that the media is trying to spur on. I think they're wanting to create like something like BLM, like it's gonna be like
right. No, yeah. But it's funny because right. Um, yeah, but I just wanted to point out that it's like it's like the activist like BLM type blacks. It's like they are the ones that are most racist to Asian people, and they're the first ones to demand that everyone like lick their boots. But as soon as but they won't uh, they won't throw their support towards us though, because they're the ones who are constantly saying that Asians were basically the same as whites. That Asians were white adjacent. So if you think that this is gonna for those Asians who are more left leaning or activist types, if you think that that this is a time for like like BLM blacks and your type of Asians to come and kumbaya, you're mistaken.
It's never gonna happen.
It's never gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
but it's funny because like now like there's coming up with like all these hashtag like Black Lives Matter, or what is it, or you know for I guess Hispanics would be like no one's illegal, or now with Asians like stop Asian hate. It's starting to sound a lot like this isn't my original joke, but it's beginning to sound a lot like All Lives Matter.
Yeah, I. but Andy, that's wrong. You can't say stuff like that.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just a dumb Asian kid. But it's beginning to sound like all lives matter. I mean, if Black lives matter, and if Hispanic lives matter, and Asian lives matter, it's starting to sound like all lives matter. I mean, except for the whites, but
And the Jews.
and the Jews. But yes, it's to me, anyways. It's starting to sound a lot like all lives matter.
Yeah, it's like I said, we live in the dumbest timeline. Uh, I cannot believe this. I don't remember. Well, actually, I do remember the time where I was like, I think that's not that I was ever under like any sort of spell, but when I realized like, oh, I see what they're doing here. Is
Yeah, no, you just start to recognize the patterns.
Yeah, well, remember, like for me, it was that. Remember that story of that kid that was supposedly he was suspended or whatever for the clock kid, and it's like, oh, he was just making a clock. Like, why did they suspend him? And then you look at the story, it's like, oh, well, that's why, because it looks like a fucking bomb. Like,
right, because the little shithead was being a shithead, and he put it in a briefcase, and he all he did was go to Target or whatever and get like a clock radio, take out the face, stick it in the briefcase, and then like put all these wires and things like that, and made it look like a fucking bomb.
And that was the day where it's like, oh, I see what they did. Never fucking again. And it was like, and not that I watched the news a whole lot before then, but that was like, I am never ever, watching.
Right, it was interesting because that was, I think, one of the trigger points for me too, to like make me go like, to kind of have a more skeptical eye towards the media.
Yeah.
And then and then it just kind of snowballed after that, because I get another one of the things that helped like kind of wake me up to the media was like the whole there was like that shooting in France.
Yeah.
I forget. Was it Charlie Hebdo?
I do remember. That was what? God, that's like 6 years ago now.
Yeah.
Happened? Yeah.
Yeah, there was a shoot. There was like some sort of like Islamic terror related shooting. Charlie Hebdo, because they dared to print a picture of Muhammad or whatever. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I do remember.
Yeah, and then there's like again, and then again the hashtag came out, pray for Paris. And then the French flag filter came up, out on Facebook.
Oh God.
But then a couple of days later, there was another sort of shooting, but this time it was in like some African country. I forget what it was called. Started with an M. But then people died there too, right? It was kind of like a terrorist attack. But nothing. What was that?
No one gave two fucks about that place.
No, exactly. It was like nothing. Like there was like I forget how many people, but it was a good amount of people who got killed. And there was no hashtag pray for that African country. There was no that African country's flag filter for Facebook. Nobody was talking about it. I even put up a link to CNN, talking an article that CNN wrote about that event on my Facebook, and I was like, and then I kind of like I kind of tongue in cheekily put, I was like, so are we sitting out this terror attack?
Yeah,
are we sitting this one out? But that's how. That's how you know. There's some sort of event, whether orchestrated or not. Regardless, the old democratic axiom: never let a crisis go to waste. Um, yeah, there's the event, then there's the hashtag, and that's how you know that you're being hijacked. Right? That's how you know that you're being propagandized to.
Yeah, and like I said, for me, never fucking again. It's just.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I mean, you guys might be thinking that we're crazy, but just look back at every single, you know, horrible event that's happened. I mean, take, Las Vegas, the Las Vegas shooting, horrible event. There's still some questions around that.
Oh yeah,
We still
they
haven't
memory
gotten
hold
all
that
the answers.
because they completely memory hold that because
No,
who's
exactly.
anymore?
Yeah, who's talking about that shit anymore? Yeah, but the Vegas shooting, and then all of a sudden, Vegas strong, hashtag Vegas strong. And then, like, even here locally, like the Thousand Oaks shooting, that happened. It's like Thousand Oaks strong, hashtag Thousand Oaks strong. Um, yeah, and then I mean the most obvious one is the BLM thing, hashtag BLM.
Yeah.
You know, and just be wary, all right, because there's gonna be a whole bunch of fuckers who are gonna related to what happened in Atlanta. There's gonna be a whole bunch of fuckers gonna come out and start GoFundmes or they're gonna start some sort of like political action group, like not
Yeah.
necessarily actual political action group, but kind of like one of those community organizations that say that they're gonna help Asian people or whatever, and they're gonna amass, they're gonna ask for donations, they're gonna and they're gonna get them, but then that none of the money is gonna go to anything. I mean, just look at Black Lives Matter. But in the summer of 2020, they raised like some on the order of like maybe like $5 million, I think.
It's
Some
all bullshit.
something along those lines. But there's not been one story of BLM donating the money to like a victim of supposed police brutality, or there has not been a scholarship set up, a BLM scholarship, or a fund to help blacks, black business owners to recruit, to help out, from like the losses from the riots.
Nope.
There hasn't been one. Yeah, there's no stories like that. There's no stories about Black Lives Matter turning that money over to the community that they supposedly represent.
Yeah. It just.
So hey, so Asian people, be fucking careful. All right, because there's gonna be GoFundmes, or there's gonna be some new group that's gonna supposedly be for the protection or defense of Asian American Pacific Islanders, um, and they're gonna ask for money and they're gonna get it, but they're not gonna put it towards the community.
Yeah. It's just
Mark my words.
it's so frustrating when you're. I mean, I don't want to use the word woke because it's like, but when you finally like you see like what's
Yeah,
going on.
let's say aware. We're aware.
Aware. Yes, thank you. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah.
When you see like what's actually happening and no one else is like aware, it's like what the fuck? Like, come on, like it's right there in front of you. Like, how can you not see this? Like, how do you
Exactly.
how do you not see? It's so obvious. And they do it again and again and again. The legacy media, the political class, uh, you know, all of these people like to get together. Just it's the same. Corporations are doing the same thing too. It's the same fucking thing over and over and over again, and people just keep buying it. Hook, line, and sinker.
Right. And it's um, I had a similar thought. Cause I follow this one, Asian American conservative uh, influencer, and he had the same thought that I did, and that is, I thought Asian Americans would be special, and that they would actually craft something, a different story for us. But no, it's the same story. White supremacy, racism. It's the same trick over and over again. I thought You know, because I thought that they respected our, you know, intellect, but no, they don't. Like, at least like the left or Democrats, they don't respect nothing. They think that we're all fucking stupid. So they use the same fucking story on every single one. Black
Yeah.
people, racism. Latinos, racism. Asians, racism. They, you know, they use that same tired story on all of us, and
Yeah.
it seems like it's working on certain Asian people.
Well, and then I remember like during the summer when like Antifa and BLM was destroying the country and burning it down,
Mm-hmm.
and there was that people talking about like how like during the Rodney King riots back in the 90s, with like obviously like a lot of the Koreans to like protect because no one was coming out to help out the Asian
Oh
businesses.
yeah, the LAPD they fucking left. They left they left Koreans out, you know,
To dry. I mean,
to
and
dry.
so they had to protect themselves, which they did. And then
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing was like the idea of the rooftop Koreans was kind of like trending during that time. And it's like, and all these people are saying like, oh my god, I'm so like ashamed of like of the time like like my parents or like my uncle were protecting their business. And, it was really it was so unaware. It was so racist. It was all this, and it's like, and how like awful how awful that was. But now when it comes like when those same like Korean businesses or like the same Asian businesses were like also like in danger of being fucked up again, and now that like now that this is happening, it's like, oh, we love our Asian community, like, oh, we have to protect them. Oh, give me a fucking break.
I know. Yeah, I mean, at least with Koreans, we have no problem protecting our own. All right, we I think we've already in 1992 we demonstrated that.
Yes, we did. Yes, they did.
You know, so yeah, I like yeah, because they when Koreans realized like, oh shit, the cops aren't gonna help us, they fucking strapped up and they did it themselves. And that's you know and that's why I thought that they would at least I thought the left or Democrats, I thought they would at least respect that about us, but no, they just like, oh no, racism, white supremacy.
Yeah.
It's like you can't even craft us a unique our own unique propaganda. You got to use the old tried and true racism. Okay, all right. That's how you know that they do not respect anything. They all think that we're stupid ass chimps.
Yep. Don't buy into it. Just don't.
Don't buy yeah, just don't buy into it, right? Because it doesn't make sense. Because the attacks that happened early on this year and last year, they were done by black people, right? But then they said
Mhm.
like, oh, it's because of Donald Trump's rhetoric.
It was
Like,
not.
okay, so you're saying that all and a lot of those attacks happen in urban centers, Oakland, like where blacks and Asians tend to mingle at a higher rate. You're saying especially Nancy Pelosi came out and said like, oh yes, it was because of Donald Trump's rhetoric. Like, okay, so you're saying that all those black people who attacked Asians, they were influenced by Donald Trump's words. So you're saying that those urban black people were Donald Trump supporters?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
Not
buy
fucking likely.
it. I don't
Not
buy
fucking likely.
it. Ugh. It's sometimes honestly, and I kind of wish I was like dumber because I think life would be so much better.
I know how you feel. I'm just in the air, screaming, for equality or Black Lives Matter or whatever or stop Asian hate. Would I be one of those people?
Yeah. I God, thank God that didn't happen.
Thank God that that one feminist chick in my class, tried to chew me out for one of my work for one of my projects. I mean, it is pretty hilarious, but yeah, I think I recounted this story before. But,
Yeah, I think
yeah,
I
it was just so funny because Yeah,
That
because it
was
was
your.
kind of like the arrogance of it too, saying like, "Oh, you're a man, you can't talk about women's like issues or things like that." Because that's essentially what my piece was doing. I was making a comment on a woman's issue,
Exactly.
and so it's like,
And,
"Oh,
and
well,
that,
you're a man," and it's just like, and it's funny because like that's when I first was like introduced to like the concept of the hierarchy of like oppression, or the victim hierarchy. Because I didn't necessarily think of myself as a person of color or a colored person. Same distinction without difference. But but I understood that I was a minority. Being Asian, I knew that I was a minority. So I thought that was somewhat protected.
yeah,
And then also because of my disability, I thought that offered another layer of
protection.
protection. But no, penis overrides all, I guess.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, quite it's quite ridiculous.
it's very ridiculous.
That's a whole that actually kind of like because I can't remember like I think I've always been a conservative even when I was younger,
Mm-hmm.
and I maybe that there's that maybe that makes me a dick. I don't know, like when I was younger, but I was like I don't know. I've never really bought totally into like the whole you know kind of like lefty kind of like mindset at all. It just something always kind of bugged me about it.
Right. I mean, it's for Asians especially. It's a little weird because Asian culture is conservative.
Mm-hmm.
It's just and I think especially a lot of like the war torn countries like South Korea, Vietnam,
Where
and
like communism is like it's not like distant memory. It's like it's happened within a generation.
right. But then that I think coming from war torn countries also kind of reinforces that conservative mindset where it's like, oh, make uh, get the most value for your money. Make sure you save enough for a rainy day. Don't spend more than you can afford. That kind of like those practical kind of things, which are staples within conservatism. I think yeah. So it's weird because Asians live conservatively, but they vote liberally.
It, it, it makes no fucking sense.
No,
You're essentially
exactly.
voting to destroy yourself.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's like it's the very definition of being lukewarm. I mean, to make another biblical reference, it's literally being lukewarm. It's like
Right.
you're conservative. You live conservatively, but you promote and you vote for liberal policies and or stances. It's like it doesn't work. It's literally being lukewarm. You know. Yeah, and I think I was kind of being, I was that slow boiling frog for a while, but it wasn't until that incident at my school that really kind of like opened my eyes, and I was like, wait a second, there's everything about society and culture tells me that I am a victim, and but here comes like kind of like cold water being splashed on me. He's like, no, 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 but your penis, because you're a man, it
Yeah.
that overrides everything.
That might be an interesting topic for like another day too, because I think how we kind of got to like our way of thinking, but like I maybe also because like I'm a historian too. Like I love looking at history and seeing how we've come from like one point to another point, and like you start to connect those dots,
Mm-hmm.
and like I said, like all the spells that are being cast, like they're trying to um revise history and like what's happened in the past, like saying like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, you're trying to make things like in the past, like this is actually something that's been thought of as being something good forever is now that like, oh, that's actually bad. And then people, because they don't think for themselves, like, oh yeah, that was bad. Like the curriculum that's being taught, well, I mean, schools aren't even open right now, but like before all this craziness, like what was being taught in school was the curriculum now compared to like when you and I were in school, vastly different.
Oh yeah, of course.
Like
I
I
mean,
was
shoot,
saying,
like the
like
new math. I mean, I distinctly remember this story where this kid, on one of his homework assignments, the question was, what's 3 times 2? And to kind of work it out, he wrote 2 plus 2, which is 6, which is
yeah,
the correct answer.
right.
But the teacher marked it incorrect because the way that the way that equation is written, 3 times 2, it's 3 2 times. So it should so she wrote in the margins like it should have been 3 plus 3.
What the fuck?
Yeah, and so it's like they're not even they're not teaching you how to think. They're teaching you what to think. So it's like you can only do math this way. Whereas like math is like the only thing where it's like it doesn't matter how you get there as long as the answer is correct.
Like I said, that's another time for another day because like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
And I'm sure we've talked about it too ad nauseum. Um, but oh man, I was trying to come up with a really clever transition.
well, I was saying, from I guess talking from like revisionist history to to from one to another. I know
There
you
you
kind of
go.
wanted to talk about the new Snyder cut of Justice League that came out.
Yes, very good. There you go. Nice, nice layup there, Robert.
Yeah,
Or lob. That's a lob. Yeah. Thanks for the
yeah.
lob. But yeah, if you have not seen or have not heard, Zack Snyder was allowed to put out his vision of Justice League recently. Partly due to fan outcry, and also fan curiosity, and also maybe a desperate move by the studio because they're losing money right now because with the theater closures and not a lot of movie and the streaming service I don't think is doing that well right now.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's everything. Honestly, like I would die to go to a theater right now, but
yeah, well, I
um,
mean, technically, the theaters are open. I mean, I just got a notification on my AMC A list. Ooh, excuse me, account saying that theaters are open now. So, but probably without concessions. And at that point, it's like, why even bother going?
exactly. Like I mean, because then to be honest, then like the theaters aren't even making money at that point because that's the concessions is where they make their money because they don't make
Exactly.
money off the movie. So like, just like, what's the fucking point?
Exactly.
They're
Um,
essentially being like like well they're forcing them to like open to like play movies that they're not making money on. Like, give me a fucking break.
right. Yeah, I know. It's like, what's the point then? Like if there's no, I'm not 100% sure if they're not allowing concessions, but I have heard that a lot of the reopened theaters aren't, they're not even allowing for concessions. So, um, yeah. So again, yeah. To what Robert said, yeah. What would be the point then? Because that's really where they make the money, or the theaters themselves make their money is in the concessions, not from the ticket sales.
You know, honest, like, and yeah, it's a little pricey, but like, sometimes like you want to go to the theater, like, and it's like you're going to like I don't necessarily want to pay like $20 for a movie, like, so I kind of get like kind of like kind of sneaking into a different movie or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But like I don't mind like buying a drink, buying like some popcorn, a hot dog, or in some of like the fancier places you can get some like beer or wine or something a little bit more along those
Yeah, or you
lines.
can get like an entire meal brought to you,
Yeah, and like, well,
like a fork and knife type of meal, like a fork and knife.
that's what I'm saying. Like, actually, one of the theaters that like I'm hoping like this stuff ends. Like, there's actually one that I want like me and Eric to go to. That's kind of like that, where it'd be like something really fun to go to, and I don't know.
Certain AMC's do that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's ever gonna happen again. To be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, because it really doesn't make any difference because it's like if people are still as afraid of getting coronavirus as they were at the beginning, then like what's the point of opening movie theaters if people aren't willing to go? I mean, I'm willing to go. I'll go. Shit. I miss going to the movie theaters. I miss that
Does
experience.
that mean
So
that
yeah,
like if they're not
I'll
gonna
go.
do concessions, can I bring my own shit then?
Yeah, I know that's that should be the trade-offs. Like, hey,
Now,
if you're not gonna have concessions, can I
if
bring
they
my own
don't let
popcorn?
you bring your own stuff, fuck that.
Yeah, no, I remember. Yeah, I remember a long time ago, like to go watch Beer Fest. I remember me and my buddy, we went to 7-Eleven. We bought like giant ass big gulps, and then we filled it with beer, and then we went and we were able to bring it in.
Nice.
Yeah, and then yeah, we watched Beer Fest while drinking beer.
Hey, there you go.
uh, but yeah, but back to the subject of the Snyder cut of Justice League. I don't even necessarily want to call it the cut. I want to call it like Justice League
Extension?
because,
The Snyder extension? It's like,
but or like the Snyder vision of Justice League
yeah.
because this literally is his vision of Justice League, and yes, it is a soul crushing 4 hour long epic, but it really doesn't feel like 4 hours.
Because, well, and maybe I have not seen it yet. You've said I've been hearing good things about it, so I'm and so I kind of do want to watch it now. Based off like what I've been hearing,
Mm-hmm.
I've been hesitant mainly because DC has fucked up their cinematic universe. I mean, it's been a huge garbage pile of
Mm-hmm.
just. I mean, Man of Steel wasn't awful. It was okay. Um,
Right, but I just didn't like the whole like deconstructed like superhero thing that
right.
Zack
It,
Snyder did.
but I didn't hate it. It's not a bad movie. It's
Right,
just
yeah, yeah.
it's just not, it's not like what you would want for a Superman movie. Uh, the was it Batman v Superman wasn't like it had potential to be good, but it wasn't. It was just too many hands in the cookie pot. It was in the cookie jar. It was just
Well, it's like yeah, they were they're trying to do in one movie what they should have done in three movies.
right. Like I said, when we talked about it when it came out, I was saying like this movie is like they're trying to hit a 5 run home run. It's not possible. They're trying to catch up in one movie. What like Marvel took time, like they took like 3 years to do,
Right, yeah,
and
and if they wanted to distinguish themselves too, then they could have gotten like I mean, yes, they went a much darker route in terms of like motif wise and maybe a little tonally, but I think what would have been really interesting if they did the Superman movie, if they did a Batman movie, and they specific and but they if they because they're definitely going by they're definitely doing the darker Batman reference. Batman v Superman was basically a stripped down version of the return of the Dark Knight. Wanted to go there, then they should what they should have done is the Death in the Family comic line, which would which they did allude to in Batman versus Superman with the Robin costume.
Right.
And they should and as an introduction to this new Batman, they should have done that story, and they should have given us the death in the family story where the Joker kills off Robin.
Right. Bingo. Like that would have been. It's like
what could have been. What could have been.
And then you have then like Wonder Woman was pretty good. It was okay. Aquaman I didn't completely hate.
It was entertaining for sure, yeah.
But then the garbage pile that was Suicide Squad, where I watched that for free, and I was like, you know what, that was too pricey. It is not the actor's fault, because it was actually really I've talked about this. It's really well cast. It just the writing is so fucking awful that it's just
and the other problem was that they made the villains likable, which isn't the point of the Suicide Squad. They're supposed to be bad guys,
right?
We're not supposed to care about them. They're only there to perform a task, and it doesn't matter if they live or die.
Yeah, I mean it's there's that. Birds of Prey, which I don't think I'm ever gonna watch. Maybe I will. I don't know. But as of this time, I haven't seen it.
Only if you really hate yourself.
I'll watch it. I'll watch It's a Talking Cat or Birdemic before before I watch this.
but not the Riff Tracks version, because I know it's the Riff Track versions do make things bearable, but are you willing to watch it raw? That's the test. That's the test.
That's a great question.
Yeah. Would you rather watch Birdemic or this, It's a Cat, like raw, than watch Birds of Prey?
Ooh, maybe.
Oh wow. Yeah, but no, but the Snyder vision. It does not disappoint. It definitely improves it by a long shot.
Because I did.
You actually care. You actually give a shit about Cyborg, and you don't hate the Flash. Because one of the things I hated about the Justice League, as it's being called, online, is that
awful movie. Oh man, one
of the things, because Joss Whedon made the Flash the comic relief and gave him all these goofy lines, and made him this awkward team. There's that scene where he falls on Wonder Woman, and it's this is awkward, and it's but no, there's none of that in the Snyder version, which is awesome, because I actually start liking the character of the Flash, despite the actor.
Right. Well, because that's the thing, because I remember the original Justice League from this, where it's it was just wow, all these characters that I like fucking suck, and because we kept alluding to all this stuff that should have been good, and then when it actually came out, it was terrible, and I was just what the fuck are they doing? And it's just, and so when I heard that, it's oh well, Zack Snyder had this vision. It's how the fuck is that gonna be any better? And I don't know. I was, like I said, I was really hesitant, because I really hated the 2 hour, the Justice League, as it's being called. Oh, it was so bad. And not in a good bad either. It was just it's just bad. I actually would because they do actually have of that. They do have a Riff Tracks version of it, where it's because Riff Tracks, what they sometimes do on some movies they do like their audio commentary that you can like download, and then you listen to you have like their commentary based off the movie, and you watch it together. And so I'm actually like I would really kill to watch the riff tracks version of the Justice League, just because I'm pretty sure that would be pretty awesome. I mean, it can't.
Yeah, you're a
They
sadist.
only have to go up. Like it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, no, but yeah, just yeah, but yeah, there. I mean, the 4 hour runtime is a bit much. I will give it that. But this movie, like, it's very competently done. And like even like the bad guy, Steppenwolf. Like the Zack Snyder version, you actually like him. Like he's actually a very compelling character.
From now, I'm trying to remember Steppenwolf. If I remember,
The one with the horns.
yeah, well, I'm sorry. I'm trying to think, like, because a lot of my, I grew up watching like the animated series, like of
Right.
Batman,
Yeah,
Superman,
the Justice League. Yeah.
um,
Justice League
and
Unlimited.
I think Steppenwolf was in the Superman like story, like when
Yeah. But he was more human. He was more human wearing armor. Whereas in the Justice League, yeah, he was kind of like a humanoid with that wore armor. But in the Zack Snyder version, like his like horns were actually part of his anatomy.
right, and because
Even though like he had like extra like fingers, and he was obviously not a human being or humanoid, or he was humanoid, but he wasn't a human being or a giant. But not but he's a much more developed character.
right,
Yeah, and you're actually like, oh damn, he actually is, and you're not like laughing at this version of Steppenwolf. You're actually like kind of compelled, and you're like, oh wow, there were a few moments where I literally was like, oh wow, this Steppenwolf is a really complex character.
yeah, because he was one of the acolytes of Darkseid, and he's actually like what in the animated in Superman the animated series, he was a great character. Like it's just, and when I watched the initial Justice League, it's like, wow, they really fucked up this character big
Yeah,
time.
no, exactly. I 100% agree with you. But in the Zack Snyder version, he is an amazing character, compelling, complex, um, all the things that you're looking for in like a villain character. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
this version of Steppenwolf is far superior to that of what we got in the Justice League.
yeah, because the well, and because like what I was hoping for, like when they were using the Flash in the DC, because my favorite version of the Flash is Wally West, and
From the Batman and Superman adventure
like
cartoons.
uh, perfectly portrayed by what is it? What's his face?
Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum. Thank you. And I who is a great voice actor, by the way, and a great actor. He's really good.
Mhm.
And I was like, that's like, to me, that was the perfect version of the Flash, and
Mhm.
that's what I was hoping that they were going for. And it's like, wow, I think that's what they were trying to go for, and they failed epically.
Right. Yeah, and actually, this Flash actually serves a purpose. Like he has a pretty big role, like towards the end too. And he's a lot more competent. He's not. He's less like shaky. Shaky leg baby goat.
Right.
In this version,
Well, that's
he's
that's the thing, is like the Flash is actually a very like compelling character, that and he to my knowledge, I don't think there's ever been a Flash movie. I mean, obviously we've had a Flash show on
right.
WB
Well,
or
there's
whatever.
there's been two Flash shows, and I mean technically, like there's Flashpoint Paradox, which is an animated movie, but it was a Flash movie.
I haven't seen that. Oh, I have to see
It's
that. I
it's
haven't seen
good.
that.
It's good. It's good. I would recommend.
I'll have to check that out. But yeah, because like I said, the Flash is a good character. The comics are good too. It just, but like, yeah, he's just they fucked up that character big time. But I'm like I said, I'm actually looking now based off like what you're telling me, and I'm gonna watch it this week, and maybe I'll give like my own thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm.
Just, but yeah, this is. I'm kind of glad that it's people are saying like, yeah, this kind of it's kind of bittersweet because you're getting a better movie, but it's like, man, like what could have been
Mm-hmm.
if not for all like the dumb meddling. And I think this actually has because didn't like Warner Brothers didn't they end up like selling to somebody, um, and like it's just I think this actually like kind of ended up running them into the
Well,
ground.
yeah, Warner Brothers, yeah, they were bought up by AT&T.
Yeah, and I think to be honest, I think it's because of these fucking films that are just so that they spent a gajillion dollars on and they fucked them up. They're awful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There, it's
And the
yeah.
tragedy is like see what Marvel did. Like Marvel like really had they started out very humbly because they didn't have their A-list characters. They didn't have the Fantastic Four. They didn't have the X-Men. They didn't have any of their A-list uh outside of maybe like Captain America.
They're premier characters. Yeah. Well, at the
Outside of
time, anyways, the big premier characters at that time were
right.
Spider-Man and the X-Men.
Yeah, and they over time they built something like with their B and C characters, and they built like this major franchise, and now they've gotten their characters back, and it's like now we're finally gonna get like wow, we get to see the X-Men, we get to see a good Fantastic Four movie, we get to see Spider-Man, awesome, and Super like with DC right from the get go, they have Batman, they have Superman, they have Wonder Woman, they have all like the greats, and they fucked it royally from the beginning. And it's just like they're, when they could have just started off like just as slowly, and DC fans like myself would have been like, okay, I want to see how they built this. They could have done, 2 or 3 or 4 Superman movies. They could have done 2 or 3 or 4 Batman movies. They could have like started to do something good with the Flash. They could have done something good with Wonder Woman. They could have made an actually a good Aquaman movie. I'm kind of torn because the Aquaman movie that we did get is not like awful, but like it, Aquaman. Forget Aquaman. It's kind of, but it's like we could have they could have done like they could have built it up slowly, and they could have done
Yeah,
something.
and the fans, they would have been there. They would have watched everything. They would have consumed.
Patiently.
Yeah, it's just yeah. For some reason, Warner Brothers and DC, they're like, no, we have to hurry up and get to where Marvel is right now. It's like, but
No, it's not. You don't, and that was their downfall. And like I said,
even Leonardo didn't start off, painting, the Mona Lisa. He eventually got to that point.
right.
You know.
But yeah, I'll watch this new Justice League here this week, and I'll give my thoughts about it next week. After I watch it.
Maybe not. Don't watch it with your wife if you can help it. If you can help it, because if you have to like stop and like answer like, oh, who's that guy? He's like, oh, it's like, what's he? Like, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say when I said, what did he say? It's
a majority of the movies that I watch because I don't watch with her, and then if I am gonna watch a movie with her, it's like I watch it like 2 or 3 times beforehand, so that way like I don't have to like super pay attention and I can just like answer questions.
Right. It's just because the runtime of this movie is so long. I don't know how many times you could watch it, so that you wouldn't have to like stop paying attention. But,
yeah, no, I had to watch this by myself. So we'll but I'll watch it this week. I'll kind of give my thoughts next week about it. Oh God, 4 hours. I mean, it makes Barry Lyndon look like a short film.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm kind of excited about it. So we'll talk more about it next week.
Okay. Yeah. To be continued next
Yeah.
week. After Robert's watched the
And maybe I'll hate
watched the
myself and
Snyder
watch a
version.
few. And
Huh?
maybe I'll hate myself and rewatch some of the other DC movies too. God,
I mean, only if you hate yourself.
you know I do. You know I do. You know the shit I watch, dude. Like it's
Yeah, I know. I know. You hate yourself. I don't. It's befuddling to me.
yeah.
All right. Anyways, okay. Let's get to our movie review
All
for
right, you
tonight.
guys
And
stop this. I'm gonna take a bathroom break. I'll be right back.
all right, as Robert goes to drain the main vein, as it were. Yeah. Yeah. Zack Snyder's Justice League. Uh, Definitely better than what we got. Much better than what we got, I would say. Um, yeah, the character, the 4 hours gives it so that the characters can be developed. Even though I might consider that a mistake, and I think each of the characters should be have been developed, in their own separate movies, and then maybe just given like kind of like hints, like because in I mean, hopefully not to be giving too many spoilers, but in this in this version of Justice League, Cyborg's character, he has this like kind of rocky relationship with his dad, and you know, and I know in the Justice League we got like they kind of reconcile, but in this one they don't reconcile so much. And that could have been left for a solo film, kind of fleshing that out, but just kind of giving hints that that their relationship isn't all that uh, stable. Would it it would have been good. All right, now that Robert has returned, let's get into the movie review. As to remind you all, this month's theme is courtroom procedurals, and we will be reviewing The Rainmaker.
Great movie.
All right, let me give the synopsis. All right, struggling new attorney Rudy Baylor resorts to working for a shady lawyer, where he meets paralegal Deck Shiflett. Paralegal Deck Shiflett. When the insurance company Dot Black refuses her dying son coverage, Baylor and Shiflett team up to fight a corrupt corporation, taking on its callous lawyer. Meanwhile, Baylor becomes involved with Kelly Riker, an abused wife whose husband complicates matters when he confronts Baylor.
Yeah, this is this is a movie that I chose because I had watched this a couple of times beforehand. Because it was free on Amazon, so it was like, all right, cool. And when we were deciding to do a court movies, I was like, oh well, we got to have this movie because it's just really good. And not only is it like it's super star studded, it's got Matt Damon, it's got Claire Danes, John Voight, Mickey Rourke, Danny DeVito, Danny Glover.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, he was the judge.
yeah, you have Michael Douglas as a producer, and and I actually didn't know this. It was directed by Francis Ford Coppola. I don't know why I didn't notice that beforehand.
Yeah,
So
I mean, maybe I missed it in the beginning, but the beginning credits. But then, yeah, I did notice that at the end when it's like, oh, directed by Francis Ford Coppola.
yeah,
Ah,
yeah, and as we noted like earlier in the episode, a very old Roy Scheider as the he's the CEO of the insurance company that's getting sued. Um, and yeah, this is a I found like the story to be really good. The one thing I could have done without, I actually did not care for the love story between Rudy Baylor and Kelly Riker. Honestly,
Right.
like we could have cut that whole part out, and I would have loved to have had more time for Danny DeVito's character and like some of the stuff that he was doing behind the scenes to get information.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The like the legwork stuff.
Yeah, I would have loved to have more Deck Shiflet in my movie. Um,
Right. Like if anything, like they should have made her like less prominent, not like kind of like the B, not like the B story in this movie.
yeah, like that's
It could have been like like he could have like just met her. They could have kept the premise the same as him meeting her like trying to ambulance chase basically at the hospital, but then like they could have made her a nurse instead, and then like they could have try and start a relationship, but then it wasn't because he was like so engrossed in like his first case essentially
yeah.
that that it doesn't really work out, or she plays like the sympathetic like supportive role where it's like, oh yeah, I hope you nail these sons of bitches, and she's just and she actually like helps with like maybe obtaining like medical records or whatever.
Yeah, like something could have been done a little bit differently there. Like,
Hmm.
and that's honestly, I mean, it's a kind of a nitpick. Um, like if I was now, I haven't read John Grisham's book, The Rainmaker.
Hmm.
But like, yeah, maybe like there was the way that relationship worked. What maybe it was a little bit different. But
Hmm.
as far as the movie goes, I would have liked to have seen something different, or just that part I could have done without. Outside of that, though, like the the characters, I was just like I was mesmerized by the acting performances. This actually might be my favorite Danny DeVito movie.
What about Twins?
Twins is great too. Don't get me wrong, but like I
Come
really
on.
love the character in this movie. No, don't get me wrong. I love I'm a Danny DeVito fan. I love him in like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I
Oh
love
yeah, him as Frank. Oh man, especially when he gets like really starts to like degenerate.
God. It's
Not in terms of like physicality, but like he like literally becomes a degenerate, and it's just so hilarious.
I mean that show was already great, but when they added Danny DeVito, like it went to legendary status.
Oh yeah. The addition of Danny DeVito to that cast was, oh my god, perfect. I mean, and it was like, and again, it was already great, like kind of like in that way where like South Park is great.
Yeah,
It was great, but then yeah, but once they added Danny DeVito, it was like boom,
bang.
you perfected the formula.
But like even like but in this one, like it kind of felt like more of like I mean, I guess you could add Batman Returns, like it's kind of a serious role for him as the
Hmm.
Penguin. But to me, like this felt like a really good serious role for him. And
Hmm.
because everyone, they kind of thinks of him as more of like a comedic actor, but like I think this should kind of shows that like he can do something serious too.
Well, Renaissance Man was kind of a serious role for him.
I don't know if I've seen that.
There were some comedic elements for sure, but yeah, it was more serious.
I'll have to give that a view. But like from all the stuff I've seen Danny DeVito in, to
Uh,
me, like this is a good serious role that he played with, also with comedic elements. But he was. I thought he was great.
hmm.
I love me some Deck Shiflet. I would have loved to have seen him more in the film. Um, John Voight as the opposing counsel, Leo Drummond. God, he was such a dick, and it just shows how good John Voight is as an actor. He can play the
Right.
bad guy. He can play the good guy. He can do it all.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. This is prime old John Boyd we're talking
Yo, yeah.
here.
Um,
But yeah,
well,
but in terms of story wise, I think it was very compelling, and I think even it's like still relevant today. I mean, like with the insurance companies and how they're always trying to screw people out of like not paying or making good on like the claims of their customers.
yeah. That's well, and that's the other thing too. Like something that because as we've gone through these court movies, we've been like kind of talking about different elements of how courts work, right? And
Mm-hmm.
something that like I kind of noticed from watching the Rainmaker, because this is I was watching it more in a critical lens, not just watching the movie. And something I noted is how like honestly, like sometimes like these court cases really can be like it's kind of like a roll of the dice. There is some luck involved in this stuff too, because had it like Rudy Baylor, like he's pretty much like he starts off with like he's part of this ambulance chaser firm, but like he ends up becoming his own. Him and Deck kind of create a law firm together, because uh, Bruiser, that's character Mickey Rourke's character. He ends up having to flee flee persecution, uh, and they start their own practice. Like they have no money, they have no resources, and they're going up against a firm that has handled thousands and thousands of cases, and they make $1,000 an hour, hundreds of dollars an hour, from their, and they have a like a six-figure retainer, uh, and the thing is like they're kind of they have kind of like they know the judge, like they're friends, and it's like but it's really like you have to have like the right judge who has gone through like it's the right judge, right jury, the right you have to have all like the right elements, and that's sometimes like even more important than like having the facts. And that's kind of like this something that this
Dean
movie
Stockwell.
and that's something that I think this movie kind of brings out is that sometimes that yeah, what they had, what Rudy Baylor and Dex Shiflett had was the truth, but at the same time, like the odds of them winning was very low.
Right. I just realized that Randy Travis was in this movie. He played the juror that got expelled.
That's right. Okay, I thought I recognized him. I was like, God damn, that guy looks so familiar. Like,
Yeah,
or
I
I was
mean, I
like,
knew who when I watched it, I knew who it was, but I just couldn't replace it.
well, this
But yeah,
movie,
also one of my favorite like kind of like genre actors, Dean Stockwell's he plays the judge at the beginning,
that's
the one
right.
that
Yeah,
that dies. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, if you're not familiar with Dean Stockwell, like he's prominently in the show Quantum Leap. He played
bingo.
Al. He played
Yep.
Al, and then more recently he played a Cylon in the reimagined Battlestar Galactica. He played the
Yep.
Cable Cylon, which he
Yeah.
did an amazing job. And again, we have to review Battlestar Galactica at some point.
Well, we'll set a time to do that because I think
We'll
that'll be
pencil it in. And again, I have the complete series DVD set, so
well, we'll come over and we'll do a marathon.
yeah. Um, but um, yeah, this is very interesting. I think this is like one of Matt Damon's early roles, or at least like leading roles.
This is
Um,
before Good Will Hunting, so this is like before he really took off.
right. Again, he had like a few minor roles here and there. I think before this movie, I think he played a secondary character in movies like Grace Courage Under Fire with Denzel.
I haven't seen that. I gotta see
Yeah,
that.
he plays like a medic who becomes a junkie. essentially. It's crazy because the transformation, because there's like flashbacks. You see
Yeah.
him like before the incident and then like after the incident, and you could like see like he's completely transformed. Um, uh, but yeah, this is a really interesting story of like just this person who genuinely loves the law and like wanted to do right by people, and his greatest fear was that he'd become like the lawyers and like those lawyer jokes.
Yeah, well, and he'd end up like somebody like Leo Drummond,
Mm-hmm.
and Rudy
But yeah,
Baylor,
like on the yeah.
he kind of had the same problem that I kind of compare like Rudy Baylor to like Orson Welles. Like the greatest thing and the worst thing happened to Orson Welles was Citizen Kane, because where do you go from there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the same problem that Rudy Baylor has. Like he had this great big case that he won, and he even said like no one's gonna expect anything less than this, from me. And it's like I can only go down.
Right. And similarly, with was it last week's movie? Last week's movie. To Kill a Mockingbird, based on the novel by Lee Harper, um, is much in the same way. Like she like her career was defined by that. And I don't even think like she put out any books afterwards, except for uh, kind of like the follow up. Like kind of you could consider it a sequel. I think it was like something a Watchmen, but
Yeah, no, I haven't read that for sure.
yeah, but it wasn't successful, and it basically destroys the character of Atticus because in this follow up book, it kind of follows a scout, but as an adult, and then she goes back to visit Atticus, and Atticus is like this racist, kind of like stereotypical redneck character, and it's like
And it's like, yeah, that's
So, but
that.
yeah, to kind of like follow in that line, but it's like, yeah, so that's kind of like the conclusion of the movie because obviously if it's not obvious, Rudy Baylor wins the case for his client, and but then through some technicalities or just out malicious tactics, the insurance company files for bankruptcy, which then I don't know, through some reason they're not able to pay out the settlement awarded to by the court.
Well, and based off like how like we're talking about how that insurance company ran, it almost was like kind of like House of Cards, and it was like
Right.
more of like have like the guys at the very top are making a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
and then like they kind of like they're fine, but it's like the company itself is like it's hollow, and it's like once that shell got broken by Ruth Baylor and like this court case, I mean the whole thing fell apart, and they
Okay.
really had no money to pay out the settlement.
Right. Yeah, and so like yeah, he got like at the end, kind of like an inner monologue, as Robert just described, as he was saying like, oh, there's no way I can have a career after this because yeah, everyone would expect that level of performance from me, and if I didn't, then that'd be the end of me. And so he was like contemplating whether or not he should go and like even go back to school and like teach law.
Yeah, it's kind of like I almost feel bad for Rudy Baylor because where does he go from there? It does. I mean, we think of it as like maybe a potentially happy ever after story with like him and Kelly Riker, but we really don't know because what career does he have anymore if he's not going to
Yeah,
like.
what are his prospects for the future? It's just it's like, oh yeah, you're Rudy Baylor. You did that day. It's like, oh, you should represent me, but I want I want that level of I want that result from you if I hire you. It's just like,
Yeah,
and yeah, like you were saying, a lot of elements did. It wasn't just like because he was so skilled or he was so knowledgeable in the law, but a lot of he had a lot of lucky breaks. one of them being the the judges being replaced, or him the clients being so sympathetic, or
The fact that like Judge Hill died, Dean Stockwell's character, and then they got Judge Kipler played by Danny Glover. That was to me that was the deciding break, because if
right, because he also had a reputation of hating Leo Drummond, the John Boyd character.
Yeah, if that didn't happen, they would have never won that case. There's no way. Which is highly corrupt. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, but it's just like, but when you look at like the reality of the situation, there is no way that Rudy wins that case without Judge Kipler being in place. Because a lot of stuff like wouldn't have like with as far as like with the objections, with the idea of like certain like evidence being like admitted into the case.
Yeah, and in a weird way, he wouldn't have won without Bruiser either, because he kind of had a disdain for Bruiser, or like the tactics Bruiser used, in his law practice, but it ultimately ended up helping him.
That's the other irony too, because Deck is a Bruiser acolyte too, and like he doesn't necessarily play by. He's not the clean cut, like he doesn't always kind of play by the ethical rules, but it's like
right. He's not a black hat, but he's not exactly a white hat either. He's like a gray hat.
Yeah, and like I said, he's doing everything legally, but it's like you gotta there's a game that's got to be played.
Right. And, he's riding that line.
And it's funny that to me, like if him and Deck ended up staying together, right? I don't think he would have ended up becoming Leo Drummond. I think he would have ended up becoming someone like Bruiser instead.
Perhaps. I mean, again, we're only going off of this movie. We don't know what the character is like in the books, but let's just suppose that the movie is accurate to the book, at least in terms of the character of Ray Baylor. Maybe he wouldn't become a Bruiser, but a Bruiser light. He'd only use the hammer when necessary, essentially.
Yeah.
Or he would use that, or he would still keep his morality, and he'd only bend the law, not break it.
Yeah. But yeah, this is it's kind of like this is a story that it's kind of I think takes place in Tennessee. It's like what
yeah.
And it's it's kind of a sad story, because there's this this family, like who was the mom Dot, who bought this insurance from this company, and her son ends up getting leukemia, and they caught it early enough. Had he gotten like a bone marrow transplant or something like that, he would have been fine. But obviously that's very costly, and the insurance company didn't want to pay, and because of that, the guy, Donnie Ray Black, he ends up dying, which is very unfortunate. And the family also has has its issues too, because his dad was like in the Korean War, has a plate in his head, and he's kind of like, I don't know, like if that was what caused him to be kind of like not having all his screws tied together, if you will.
Yeah, screw loose.
Yeah. And the story of that family is super sad, And actually, like all the people that Rudy represents, because he had that the lady Birdie, the old lady that he's doing the will for. She was supposedly a wealthy woman that actually really has no money, and she's wanting to leave it to some televangelist, some crooked televangelist, which I hate those guys. And it's like, oh my god, why? Why would you do that?
Yeah, the funniest line to me was, she, when she revealed that she wanted to leave her money to the televangelist, it's like, where she said like, oh well, he needs the money, like his jet is getting old.
Yeah.
That
Oh my god, I died.
was my favorite line. That was my favorite line.
And her unfortunately her kids are fucking awful, and but like Rudy like feels for her, and like act and kind of like feels like, to be honest, like Rudy's a better son to her than like her own kids are, which is
hold on. Keep it going. I'm gonna go use the bathroom, but I can still hear you, so keep going.
Yeah, but so you have these characters who, Rudy just like wants to help these people so much. He has a big heart, and the people that he represents are really down and out. They kind of came to the reason that he knows of these guys is because they went to I guess like to the law school, looking for like some legal advice, kind of, and it's a way for guys like Rudy Baylor to get some experience and to maybe like help them to learn the law and some of the things going on. And the people that are coming to these things, they don't really have the money to pay for legal representation, and so they kind of this is kind of like a last gasp, desperate effort to get someone to represent them in their cases. And like Birdie, like her situation, like she has like crappy kids that like they think that she has a lot of money and she doesn't want to leave it to her kids. But then obviously like the main plot of the story is this whole deal with the black family, and trying to get the insurance company to pay for Donnie's treatment, but he ends up dying before that's even possible. And then it's about like we're really gonna she after that happened, you can tell like the fury in Rudy's like demeanor. And Dex Shifley is like more kind of as a bruiser acolyte, is like, oh, we're gonna really take it to the insurance companies, and it's like, yeah, this is the Rainmaker. It's kind of Andy and I always have those moments in the movie where like one of the characters shouts out the title of the movie and within it. Well, that happens in this movie with Dex Shifley. It's like when Judge Kipler takes over, like, he's a Rainmaker. It's like, oh, there it is.
He said the thing. Yeah, I mean, I think each of the movies that we watched so far has I think given like good perspectives on like the criminal justice system. I think and I think well, like, cause like 12 Angry Men, that gave us the perspective of like the juror side, and like what what at least ideally what should take place in the jury room during their deliberations.
Right.
And then with To Kill a Mockingbird, that was more that detailed more of like a flawed system, allowing for kind of like prejudices and or bigotry to kind of color the law.
It's almost like I would almost say this is like what quote unquote the systematic racism that everyone talks about. Albeit though the judge was the one that went to Atticus Finch to try to get this. He was like, "Hey, would you represent this guy? Because no one wants to represent him." And it's like, so yeah, it's kind of like I would almost liken it to like where the press is like kind of bad, and so, like there's already this bias going into the case. Like, there's no one can be unbiased going in the case. There's no way. And then you have what was the other movie that we did? We did
Anatomy of a Murder.
Anatomy of a Murder, where it's like it really talks about the research that goes into a case.
Yeah, like the kind of how to build a case.
Yeah, and to be honest, we did not plan that out. Like, I didn't expect them to like all these movies that we chose to like represent different aspects of the court proceedings. It just kind of worked out that way, which is kind of amazing. How
and interestingly, the last movie for this month kind of encapsulates all of the movies thus far, except for maybe 12 Angry Men.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of we did not plan that at all, but I am.
Yeah, it's just one of those synchronicities that happen, and it's just great,
Yeah, and I think it's kind of work the way that we sequence them now. I think that's we just kind of did it based off of Andy chose some, I chose some, and then obviously we both wanted to do My Cousin Vinny, and that's like of the one
spoilers. That's gonna be the last movie for this month.
That's one of Andy's and mine. It's one of our favorites, and so that we was like, oh, no, we got to put that at the end, just because that's
save it for the end.
And no, you're right. It does kind of encapsulate everything that we've talked about in these other court movies. So I'm excited, man. It's do you have any? I don't know if you have any other like thoughts on the Rainmaker or any others like scenes or whatever that you or characters that you want to talk about.
No, I don't have anything else to add.
All right, then should we give our rating?
Our rating, yeah.
I'll start off. I would love to give this movie a 5, but I have to give it a 4 because, to be honest, the love story was I could have done totally without that. To me, it just to me it was useless. I don't know if it was useless in the book. Maybe it made sense in the book, but in the movie, and that has nothing wrong with Claire Danes because I like her as an actress. But yeah, it was just, to me, it was useless. I hate useless love stories or anything like that. It just, because to be honest, like, would the movie have been any different had that not been a part of it?
Yeah, no, it would have.
Bingo.
Yeah, because there's no growth for Rudy Baylor through that relationship.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no lesson learned or lesson imparted. So yeah, it doesn't fit. It doesn't make any sense in this movie.
And trust me, I don't mind watching like a 4-hour movie if like it had like when it's necessary, like because sometimes like to tell like a certain story, it takes time. So I don't mind like watching a long movie, but what I absolutely hate is when there's like, because this movie's not that long. It's only like 135 minutes with, it's under 2 hours or a little over 2 hours. But like I said, 30 minutes of it, like you could have taken out the entire love story and it would have not changed the story at all.
No.
And I hate that. Like, don't put in shit that doesn't need to be in there. And I'm the same thing. It's the same thing with me. Like, because I'm not a huge fan of gratuitous, like like sex or whatever in movies. Like, unless it has something that actually that makes sense to the movie. But like, just if it doesn't belong there, if it doesn't add to anything, fucking rip that shit out. Like, put in stuff that like is more pertinent to the story. Like, to me, I want more Deck Shiflet in my movie.
I know what could have been like a whole Rainmaker cinematic universe, and just have a movie that's solely focuses on Deck Shiflet.
Dude, I would love a whole series on Deck. Like just himself. Like just I love Danny DeVito. He's kind of he's a character actor, but like he's more than that too at the same time, because he's actually he's actually very talented. I have to give Danny DeVito credit. We're gonna be talking. I guarantee that we're gonna be talking a ton about Joe Pesci next week. But like he is Danny DeVito to me is like he's like the next tier down of Joe Pesci. Like he's kind of I think he's of the same ilk. But Danny DeVito never. I don't really think he ever really got the chance to be like what Joe Pesci was.
Yeah, I see that. For me, yeah, I'm gonna come down slightly from you, and I'm gonna give this a 3.5.
That's fair. I think 3.5 to 4 is pretty fair.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, like you, that the love story did not belong. It shouldn't have been there at all.
That's the thing. Like this, the love story made it from being a great. It took it from being a great movie to a like kind of good movie.
Yeah, and I mean, this movie was fine. It was, it was perfectly servable, but it just wasn't there. It just wasn't there.
And it's nothing. It's like I said. Don't get me wrong. It's not Claire Danes. Claire Danes is a great actress. If you watch Homeland or like any
other.
Yeah,
absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's not her fault. It's just it's the writing. The writing.
It's the whole it's the whole Daisy Ridley thing. I don't hate Daisy Ridley. I just hate the character of Ray. Of Ray.
Bingo. Yeah, Daisy. I hope to see Daisy Ridley in something else.
Because, I hope Daisy. I mean, honestly, I hope Daisy Ridley gets another chance. I even hope what's that Asian girl who played Rose Tico?
Yeah, I think she's fine too.
Yeah, I hope she gets another chance too. I hope that she is not defined by that actress. God, what's her name? Yeah, I hope she's not defined by that character Rose Tico.
Yeah, I forget her real name, but like.
Oh, Kelly Marie Tran. There it is.
Yeah, I think she's a good actress. She's like the writing sucks so bad.
Yeah.
And just.
Yeah, I mean, even John Boyega. Like, I hope he didn't shit on Star Wars so much that, no studio will ever touch him again. Because, I think John Boyega is a very talented actor, and I hope that he gets another shot.
To be honest, all the people that were cast in god awful, Last Jedi, they're not bad actors. It's just bad writing.
Yeah, I mean, like the only one who's who's for some reason able to rise above it is Oscar Isaac.
Yeah.
For some reason, his career was not that affected by the Star Wars movies.
He's good. Like, he's great.
Yeah. But for some reason, Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, Kelly Marie Tran, I think their careers did get a hit after this movie, but those movies. I hope that they get another shot. I really do.
To close on that too, because I had to say that Robert Pattinson, like, he is also rising above, because he was.
Because the Twilight stuff.
Yeah, everyone's gonna remember him for Twilight, which is a shame, because that guy is a fucking good actor, and he shits on the Twilight franchise. He did that for the paycheck. And because you see what he's doing now, he's doing projects now based off because he's made a bajillion dollars off of the Twilight franchise. now he's doing projects that he thinks are like more of a challenging for his talent. You know,
Yeah,
he's
as an actor, as an artist. Yeah.
yeah, he's doing a lot of indie films. He did. He was in Christopher Nolan's most recent film, Tenet, and he's fantastic in it. And he's the new Batman, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that because I think he's going to be a good Batman. I see him as, you know, kind of like when Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker, which I was like, oh, this is going to be fucking awful because
Right, yeah, everyone, yeah, because all we knew of Heath Ledger was, you know, like maybe like 10 Things I Hate About You, and then also like maybe yeah, what was
Night
that medieval night movie that he did?
was it
Knight's
Night
Tale.
or something
Knight's
like
Tale. Knight's Tale. Knight's
yeah.
Tale. Yeah, yeah.
It was
And
fucking.
those are like the only two big things that he's done, like a teen, like you know, teen like sex rom com movie, and then this, you know, and another like kind of more like commercial, you know,
Bullshit.
blockbuster thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he plays the Joker and wins an Oscar. It's like, oh, this guy can fucking act. Okay,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
and that's how I feel about Robert Pattinson. And yeah, it's just I kind of hope the same thing for these other guys that can also act. I want to see them in good stuff because I think they can. I think they can do it.
Absolutely. All right, there you have it. That's our review of Rainmaker. Robert gives it a 4. I give it a 3.5. Would recommend. Would recommend.
Hey, it's free on Amazon. Like what? It's not like you're gonna be spending money. It's just time at this point, and it's a
yeah, it's a good entertaining movie.
You have a brilliant director, Francis Ford Coppola. You have a super star-studded cast. You got Matt Damon, you got Claire Danes, you got John Voight, you got Danny DeVito, you got Mickey Rourke, you got Roy Scheider,
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover. I mean, you can't go wrong. Yeah, we're not giving it a 5. Just and it's really a nitpick at this point.
Yeah.
But it's a great movie.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But like I said, it just our nitpick is like we felt this movie could be even better than it was, and it just
it just missed the mark slightly.
Just missed it.
Yeah, just missed it. All right, there you have it, folks. That is our live stream for tonight. I hope you had a good time. I know I did. I know Robert always does. Don't forget to follow. You know, don't forget to check out the library of content that we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast. Don't forget we just dropped the most recent one, which is an interview with Rob's dad. So
and it's a great one. Yeah, I hope you guys please watch that. My dad he's a really interesting guy. He's got 1,000 different stories. We definitely talked more about like stuff like my dad's into. He's a big car guy. He's into mainly like anything that dealing with cars, and he'll talk for hours. And but he talked about a lot of different stuff. And I found it was a really fun interview. I actually learned stuff about my dad that I didn't know. So it's I hope you guys enjoy it.
So do check that out. Don't forget, and also, the backlog of, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and LetterboxD @PodcastCOJ and Instagram @Circle of Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us tonight, and let's do it all again next week.
Sounds good. Remember, My Cousin Vinny.
That's right. If you guys are interested in maybe jumping into the live chat and kind of participating in the review, we will be watching My Cousin Vinny next week. So get on that, watch it.
I've said the month. I really like this theme.
Yeah, it was a fun month. All right, guys. Good night.